Hi, and welcome to the Way Forward Live. I'm your host, Neal Tricarico. So grateful to be here with you today from the sweet spot of the universe in sunny San Diego. Yes, I'm still in shorts because it's hot as all get up in here and in the studio and such. And I'm just really grateful that you've joined us. You know, the Way Forward Live is for adults who are carrying significant loss or pain and are looking for a way forward to recapture their identity and find a path forward. And it's such an honor to be joined today by our special guest, Dr. Ken Druck. And I'm going to read this because it's worthy of getting it right. Dr. Ken Druck is one of the world's leading experts on grief and resilience. Since losing his own daughter in a tragic accident nearly 30 years ago and working with families after 9/11, Sandy Hook, and Columbine, he has dedicated his life to providing roadmaps for getting through life's most daunting and difficult times and navigating its daily ups and downs. Dr. Ken is also a best-selling author of several books, including his most recent, How We Go On: Self-Compassion, Courage, and Gratitude on the Path Forward. This book, in my experience with Dr. Ken, changed the trajectory of my own healing and growth. And Dr. Ken is also a recipient of the prestigious Distinguished Contribution to Psychology Award, is a lecturer at UCSD School of Medicine, and a noted speaker for conferences, special gatherings, and global organizations. You can find him at howwegoon.com. And while all of what I just shared is most meaningful and significant in terms of his global impact, you know, for my wife, Samara, and me, we're so very grateful because Ken answered the call. We were introduced through our dear friend Scott Chamberlain, and I knew nothing of this, and my friend knew I was in the corner in the fetal position and struggling with the recent loss of our son. I've shared the story with you countless times on here, and this was days after that, and the thought of going on or living in some way after not being able to save Anthony's life was really out of the realm of possibility. And I'm just so grateful for the introduction and for the relationship. And it's just an honor to get to share this gift of a man with you all. Welcome, Ken. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be with you. Look at what you've done. Look at how you've risen to be able to do what you're doing today. So I'm honored to join you and greet all the people that are tuning in to or in their unspeakable what now moment, whether it's they've gone through something similar to what you and I have gone through, which many people consider to be the worst loss, or whether they are experiencing a living loss. Nobody's died, but they're in pain because a relationship has ended, or they got a bad diagnosis, their annual physical, or they have somebody that they love who is estranged in their family, or God knows what other reasons. But we're all here. We all get a turn in the soup. And we're all here talking about what we, each of us, because none of us is not a cookie cutter, but what each one of us can do to somehow go on, and not just go on by going through the motions, but to make a very personal, meaningful statement of what we're going to do, how we're going to live out our days and give them purpose. We're going to survive. We're going to give them purpose. We're going to put hope and faith and even a little bit of joy and pleasure, partaking in all the goodness that balances it all out.
Mm. Mm. All of what you said touches me deeply, and I thank you for what you shared about what you see in me. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years since somehow Samara and I found our way through your front door, and I'm so emotional. Like, it's so much of what you spoke was really important, and we'll share that with people. But the love that I felt, and the care that I felt, and I feel it now even in 2D in your voice, and the calm and the certainty. And you were also just a model for me about what was possible. I care a lot about human beings. I always have, and I've gotten so much juice out of interaction with them. And this one really knocked me down. But just seeing how you poured yourself into others, and that you had decades of experiences, whether it was something you taught me, showed me, I read about, saw a talk on, or or it was something I hadn't yet experienced yet. I would just ask myself, like, gosh, what would Ken do here? What would he have done? So, um,
Well,
really,
I
what?
want to
Yeah, go
comment
ahead.
on that.
Yeah, please.
First of all, I'm honored by you getting emotional. You and I are guys, and we've been taught our whole lives to comport ourselves, to suck it up, to not that emotions, those kinds of emotions, experiencing vulnerability or being transparent in that way is a sign of weakness. It's a flaw in us. And we're taught that courage is the denial of all those things. Courage is a form of dishonesty in that mode. You have rather chosen to be honest and courageous in a true sense by saying, hey, I'm human. I'm a work in progress. Here I am. But, everything affects me, my memory, what being together triggers in me. You've been transparent and honest. And for me, that's the highest form of integrity for a man, especially. And so I just want to comment on that and tell you I really appreciate that. And it also makes it safe for all the men who are going through something. They're in that what now moment, and they're in pain. And we've all been trained as guys to cry on the inside. We cry silently. You don't see us. We're crying on the
Yeah,
inside.
yeah.
We don't shed tears on the outside. That's shameful and weak. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to say I'm so deeply grateful as I hear your gratitude and what you're sharing. But I also want to say that this is not the kind of thing that none of us are going through something where we arrive and we're home safe.
Mm-hmm.
We're done. We've turned the
Mm-hmm.
corner and we've risen up and now we can be a model and an example. We're all work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
We're all a work in progress, no matter how much we have ascended, no matter what we've learned, we're all still human. And that what defines us is catching ourselves with our foot on our throat and catching ourselves up there and saying, God, I'm being impatient with myself. I'm being judgmental. I'm being harshly self-critical.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to me talk to myself. Look at what I say to myself. And rather than really putting our hand on our heart, which is the hand of patience, saying, hey, how could this not take as long as it's taking after what I've gone through, after losing my beloved, beloved daughter? How could I not feel? So there's no judgment. It's a judgment-free zone when we have our hand on our heart. And it's also encouragement. It's like, keep on keeping on. It's like, yeah, this sucks. This really sucks. This really hurts. This really, it's taken me to the bottom of pain. But it's saying, hey, you can do this. You can do this. And when people ask me 30 years later, Ken, how are you doing? You lost Jenna 30 years ago? Let's look at your watch. Oh my God, it's 30 years. I tell them that you know what, I walk with a limp in my heart.
Mhm.
I There's not a day that goes by that I don't miss my daughter, wonder what her life would have been like had she lived, uh, yearn for her, try to remember things that are precious and irreplaceable and priceless, and just carry this great sorrow. I walk with a limp in my heart. I also remember and feel the love, the incredible love that I had and that she had for her daddy. And I talk with my other daughter. I have an angel daughter and an earth daughter. And I talk with
Mhm.
my earth daughter, and sometimes we shed tears together, and we remember things that were precious and important. And so it's not just all sorrow. Some of it's laughter and celebration and and wondering, allowing ourselves to imagine that we don't really understand death or the end of life or life itself. We're flying through the universe on a less than a grain of sand. In the middle of you, we have Neil deGrasse Tyson reminding us that we don't just live in a universe, in a galaxy.
Mhm.
We live in universes.
Mhm.
We had last year we had the astronauts going out beyond the moon, and in years to come, we're going to go to Mars, and we're going to discover all the elements of what are in the universe, some of which are what we're made of. But we're going to humble ourselves to understand that this is so far beyond our ability. We can have faith. You and I both hope for a reunion. We both hope there's a more. We have no idea, but we can hold in faith what we hope it is. But truth be known, most of us really don't know with 100% certainty what happens when we die and where our kids are if they die and what this universe is and what there might be that goes on. Or whether, as my 6-year-old grandson says, Poppy, he says, I don't think heaven's real. He said, oh, really? You don't think heaven's real? He says, no. He says, I think it's all about the circle of life. That we we pass on and somebody else takes over, and this is the way it's been going for millions of years, and
Mhm.
that's kind of what happens. The elements. I said, oh, really? I said, well, would you be open to if it's more than that? Would you be open to finding out? And but let's talk about this. Let's see if we can figure some more of it out. So anyhow, so I just wanted to say those things,
Uh,
and
it,
I think they're
but
yeah.
no, go ahead. You think
No,
they're,
I just wanted to share that with you.
and I'm so glad you did, and I knew this conversation would happen organically, and there are a few things that I want to unpack from what you've shared
Please,
because they've had such a tremendous impact on me, and I believe they'll also have a tremendous impact on others. And I'm going to work backwards. And I keep reminding myself I got to have a pen so I could take notes. But this I don't have to remember so much because you you've shared it with me. You've modeled it. You've shared it with me. I've lived it, and now I get to share it. So we'll work backwards on what you've shared. But I'll just lay it out. I definitely want to talk
please,
about the throat and the heart, working backwards. This idea of there is no there or closure, and then working back to strength versus strength and courage, vulnerability as a superpower, and men, because like I said, you shared those things with me, and now that pebble drop of ripple is impacting, and I want to dive deeper on each of them. So
please,
and the idea of your heart is limping, like, okay, so I've shared this so often, and that's something that resonated with me early on. And that's why people who know me know I use the purple heart emoji all the time for the same reason, right? If we had a broken arm people would see our cast, but because of our broken hearts, they can't see it, and they can't see, if we broke our leg, they can't see the limp. So for me, my heart still beats, and it has so much capacity for love, and all the love I have for Anthony to place it in other places. But it is bruised and purple, and I think it's such an important distinction that you've shared, that I've carried on, that I think others can embrace too, because my experience has been that's how we get to hold the pain of the loss and the reality of them not being here, but and have that possibility for joy, love, connection. And when you shared it with me in those early days, I intellectually couldn't believe you because it seemed not possible. But again, your presence, your energy, the care, I'm like, oh, I'm here because I need this help, and this man knows. And while you have 30 years and I have 2, it's so true. I can't impress upon you listeners enough that what this man is sharing is your path forward. It's your freedom. I'll pause there for a second. We could break down those two, but and just tie it to the heart and the throat, because I remember when you first shared that, and it was around guilt that I shared for not taking action that night. I had intuition that I could have walked up the street and come to know those minutes likely would have mattered. And when you shared that with me, when you asked me to take my hand off my throat and put it on the heart, I felt like for the first time I had stopped holding my breath, and just that physical sensation of realizing, like, my gosh, like I'm not breathing, and moving my attention to my heart, and just getting grounded in that softness too, that it's okay and it's going to take some time.
Permission to be human.
Permission to be human.
And permission to be kind. There's no greater element in our hand on our heart than kindness.
Yeah.
Self-compassion.
Yes.
Like, how could I not feel like, when I told my daughter, yeah, go on the study abroad program, it'll be the launching pad of the rest of your life. I would have given her my life. I would have given her the world. But how could I have said that to her? She went out and died. I sent her to her death. So I spent a lot of time, and those of us who've gone through traumatic losses know, we spend time in the torture chamber of guilt. Mm-hmm. We put ourselves in there. There's no redeeming element to it. It's a one-way street to hell. And it is where self-punishment takes place. We implicate ourselves in the death or the demise or the illness or whatever it is, or the demise of a relationship. But we put ourselves in that torture chamber of guilt and irrationally implicate ourselves in what happened, as though we were solely and exclusively responsible for it happening, or we could have prevented it from happening. And we try, what happens when we suffer those kind of losses is that our mind immediately switches into undoing mode. It's like, all right, this all seems so surreal. Let me undo it. How can we put this in reverse? Somebody get a flux capacitor or the time machine. Let's put it in reverse. Let's undo it. We try to undo what cannot be undone, or what we haven't figured out in time and space, how to undo tragedies. What we can do is look forward, as you guys have done so beautifully, and say, part of our son's suffering, just as I say, part of my daughter's death was the fact that there were no seatbelts on a bus to the Taj Mahal, where 27 students rode and 4 of them died. And so we've worked diligently over the years to make sure that every study abroad program, every time we take kids out into the world, which is a wonderful thing to show them the dimensionality and the diversity in the world that they live in on this planet, this incredible planet, and how many expressions there are of what it means to be human. But we should do so with safety. So instead of beating myself up in the I sent my daughter to her death torture chamber of guilt and hell, what if I do something to prevent one other family from having to suffer the way our family will now suffer eternally? And that's an honoring. So we often talk about the 8 honorings. What are the things I can do to honor what I've lost, or the person I've lost, or the relationship, or if I'm in the process, a lot of people are in the process of losing their own life. They're having, a near-death experience, or somebody they love. I'm helping a family right now where the mom has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and the conversations are, hey, you're going to be losing parts of me. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's not be afraid. I'm not going to be the person that you're used to be, the mom who's the hub of the family and directs traffic and gets people to treat each other more kindly and plans the family summer vacation. I'm not going to be that mom. So how are we going to go on? How are you going to go on? How are we going to go on? How are you going to help Dad when I'm in a lesser state, which it looks like is happening? So there's so much we can do when we summon the strength and the courage, when we keep our hand on our heart with kindness and patience and faith that somehow I'm going to find the courage and the strength to clear that path forward. I'm going to clear it by stopping. I'm going to catch myself with my foot on my throat. I'm going to stop talking to myself and treating myself in ways that defeat me. I'm going to honor my daughter by going on. One of the 8 honorings that I write about in How We Go On. There are 8 honorings, and one of them is to survive her death. Learning to take better care of myself than I've ever had to. Getting my foot off my throat. Giving myself time to rest. Giving myself permission to be living in a new normal. Instead of, you used to be able to do that. What's wrong with you? Mm-hmm. Or look at that other dad. He's gone through it. How come you can't be more like him? And harsh self-criticism and judgment and comparisons. Those are all ways of beating the crap out of ourselves at a time where more than anything we need love and support and encouragement and kindness. And we also can, tough love can be a part of that too. Sometimes we need to, in a kind way, kick ourselves in the ass and say, hey, I need to clean some things up. Not beat ourselves up, but to say, there's an opportunity here for me that I've never had before to be more honest and to be more allowing of other people's love and support. I've been so overly self-reliant, so independent. My ego is so tied to being strong. I don't need you. I don't need help. Help is the least utilized 4-letter word in the male vocabulary.
Yeah.
So, again, it's that defining what courage and integrity really are. And it's living on a higher path of integrity and of courage and of faith and of kindness. Yeah.
Mm. Selfishly, I want to dive into a little bit more around
Please.
these honorings because
Yeah.
one of the things that I struggle with, and it hasn't come up too much. It's mostly in my head, but a couple people have mentioned it to me. But it'll be like, yeah, okay. Thank you both, Dory and Samara, for sharing your engagement. And I'm so lost in my conversation with Ken that I've forgotten about you. So please be sure if you have any questions, um, please pose them in there and I'll make sure that they get answered as well. Really appreciate you sharing that, Irvin. And what I think could be helpful, I know it'll be helpful for me because I struggle with it a bit, is it's come up once or twice, but it comes up in my head a lot like, oh, it's easy for you to find purpose. You found out after your son that kids with his diagnosis are nearly 30% more likely to take their own lives. I mean, that's like a strong call to action. Like, it's so clear, if I can impact that in some way, at least one other family won't go through what we've gone through, and possibly dozens or hundreds more. And in your case, it's like, oh yeah, I could help so many families. I mean, you're talking about making sure all study abroad programs have buses with seatbelts. That's a big, hairy, audacious calling. So I'm curious to dive into some more of these honorings, maybe for people who are sitting with something along the lines of they're not seeing that calling, or it's not as obvious as maybe it is for you and I in our losses.
So the first, one of the first things is that hand on your heart, is permission to be so sad, is permission to be at the bottom of pain.
Mm.
How could you not be? And if I'm talking to those who are watching who have suffered the loss of a child or a loved one, I don't care who it is, but you've suffered a deep, deep loss. How could you not be at the bottom of pain? How could you not be turned inside out and upside down? You know, in the first town hall meeting, I walked out in front of a couple of thousand people in New York, and I said, I don't know, I said, hey, I'm back in New York. I'm from New York. Can I use language here? And they said, oh yeah. And I said, raise your hand if you feel more effed up than you ever imagined a human being could feel. And a couple of thousand hands went up. And I talked about what it was like for me in the early days of my dream for this life being obliterated by my daughter's death, and how broken I was. So the first honoring is to just say, the truth is I have taken a mega hit. Mm-hmm. And how could I expect myself to function? I need to get out of my own way. I'm in a new and unfamiliar normal. Mm-hmm. This is my new normal, where I'm effed up, where I am brokenhearted, where I am defenseless from my own helplessness or guilt or sorrow or anxiety. I'm defenseless. I have no defenses for what I'm going through. 1 minute, it all feels surreal, like somebody give me the remote control and change the channel. Mm-hmm. The next minute, it feels all too real. I'm emotionally overwhelmed and flooded. I have to do something. I have to get out. I have to walk.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fight or flight. I'm frozen. So that's the first honoring is permission to be kind to myself, to make sure my hand is on my heart and my foot is off my throat, to catch myself. It's like, oh, did I just look what I'm doing? Let me bring that. The second honoring is to survive their death, to survive the loss that you have suffered, that feels like you're dying yourself, or that is acknowledging that a part of you and your life is over forever. And to take care of yourself as never before. That means to learn what you need to say yes to and what you need to say no to. A whole new spectrum of possibility. Saying yes to support when somebody says, hey, could we bring dinner over for the next week or two? Just so you don't have to think about it, or fill your refrigerator, or cut your lawn, or take the kids. It's learning to say yes to loving support. It's learning to say no to people, to the grief groupies in the world, or people who want to get up close beside us because they have another agenda. There's the agenda is not. They really aren't thinking about what is it this person need for support to get to survive the death or the loss that they've suffered. So it's really thinking about, what do I need to say yes to? What do I need to say no to? Because I have to practice to survive this. I'm going to need a whole new element of self-care. I'm going to have to redefine whatever self-care has been for me, whatever rest and replenishment has meant to me. I'm going to have to do better than that to survive, because I'm dying. I feel like I'm dying, or I'm feeling the part of me that has died. But to go on and to survive and to live out my own days and to fight my way back into this life, I'm going to need self-care. Another one of the honorings has to do with doing something good in their name. And that's where I started today with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm going to honor my son. I'm going to honor, I'm going to take the love that I have for him, the gratitude I have for his life, the sorrow and the helplessness that I feel for around his death. I'm going to honor him by hopefully preventing one family, one child, from having to suffer, from having to find the only solution for his pain was to check out. It was an irreversible choice. And to also put resources together. I mean, I love getting your announcements about programs that you're helping educate parents about autism, about all the expressions, what it is and what it isn't, and bringing experts in. That's an honoring. That's do something good in their name. And let people know that this is why I'm doing it. Another one of the honorings. Should I keep going?
I mean, I'm finding it tremendously valuable. I think it's interesting. The first couple, even though there was stuff to think about and say yes or no to, I felt like we're really about being, a state of
Yes.
being, and it's really important for me to hear that, because now that it's not getting easier by any means. And in fact, the second year was harder than any other time, but it's getting different. Um, but I'm finding myself drawn more towards the doing and achieving again. So I'm reminded, like, the what you shared about the first couple were about being, and I think that could be so helpful for people, especially us men, where we want to do our way out of this or get on with
Yeah.
this myth of the process of grief. And then the honoring. And then I also appreciate what you shared about um, the support groups. I find those to be such a anomaly of sorts. My heart is in them. I want to be around my people, but I often don't feel better when I've left. I can relate like no other person that I connect with, other than a parent who has lost a child or lost a child in the way we have. But there's a stuckness to it, and
Yeah.
then doing something in their name is a real doing or moving forward. So I mean I would say, yes, please. I think this is really helpful.
We back to the conversation about how what our basic training is as guys. We are taught in kind of the engineering mode to figure stuff out and fix it. Figure it out and fix
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Engineer mindset.
Yeah.
Or entrepreneurs. Figure it out and fix it. Or figure it out and build it.
Yep.
Rather than be with it. Be with yourself. Balance out the doing with the being. Don't leave this part out, because you will turn into this. The doing, human doing, not the human being.
Yeah.
So, but the other honorings, one of them has to do with the spiritual element, not the religious, but the spiritual element of what am I supposed to do with the love that I have for my daughter?
Yes. Oh, please tell us. Yes.
What do I do with it? Do I chase rainbows and butterflies, or what? And what we're talking about is the love that never dies. We have the love that never dies. And we're trying to figure out what is the way to put that love back into the world, back into our kids. And what's the way for us to feel the love that may be coming back from them? If the nature of this universe is that occasionally I feel Jenna's talking to me, whether she's saying, Dad, you can't wear that shirt. That shirt is old, get rid of it, whether she's coaching me as a daughter does, or whether she's talking to me about something deep as we used to do. And I feel her, what she'd say. And I almost hear her, not with my ears, with my heart. So when that happens, do we allow ourselves to feel touched? Or is our receiver broken? Is our receiver damaged to the point when people try to love us and give us love, we don't know how to take it in? We're afraid that there's, is there a price for this? Or
what's the catch?
Am I going to be judged? Are you going to assess me as a lesser of a man because this meant too much to me? Or, we have all these things that deflect people's love and support. I don't need that. That defeat it, deny it, and deflect it. And rather than receive it. And you don't have to have the universe figured out. You don't have to have it figured out. Oh, I know the, time and space. And so it's my daughter. And, you don't have to have it figured out with 100% certainty. You can say, I just felt my daughter close. And And I have no idea what that is or where it came from. And I don't have to put myself, in a scientific study at the moment. What just happened brought me comfort. And that I can allow that to be enough. The things that give me comfort, I can allow. And I can allow myself an unknowingness to not have all of it figured out. And to keep trying to know and to explore and inquire and, trying to understand the nature of this universe, this life, what death is and spirit and all that. So I think experiencing the love that never dies is another honoring. It's you saying, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. No, please finish that thought. I want to dive into this one. This one touches me deep.
Yeah. It's just you saying, hey, I don't know how all this, with 100% certainty, how all this works, but I am going to tell my daughter this morning, I love you, Jenna. Mm-hmm. I love you with all my heart. Mm-hmm. I'm going to declare it with all my heart. I pour my heart out to you. I hug you. I love you. I miss you. And I'm going to speak to her when I need to. I'm going to listen what she would say to me. I'm going to, when I experience something that I would have loved to share with her, I'm going to share it with her. I'm going to be, sometimes when I give speeches, I walk in and say, let's get one thing clear right away. I talk to the dead.
Yeah, so good. I remember that at the spiritual center when you started with that, and you told us that you do that so good.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to tell you I know when I'm doing certainty. You can excommunicate me. You can, defrock me. You can expel me from, the Board of Behavioral Science or whatever. I really don't care about your judgment.
Yeah.
So the honoring is just allowing myself in that realm with the love, to experience the love that never dies.
Gosh, yes. Well, all of these touch in a very deep and profound way, but the way that you've tied I think that the most common phrase that I hear since this, and I've experienced this grief, is, that grief is love that has no place to go. And I understand the comment, but it's been my experience that there are plenty of places for it to go. Like we have this immense capacity to love our children. And I don't know if this was the case for you, but when you had your second, it's like, how could I possibly love anyone else any more than I do Aunt in my first? And then sort of magically this new capacity with as much untold amounts of love existed. And when we lose this person, that love, it doesn't, you can't go to the physical being that was here, but it can still go to them in conversation. But it's that giving of the love in other places for people who are suffering that need it, or for a cause that you feel pulled to. And I love that's the spirituality, because now that I've started on this journey, I'm invited onto different podcasts or talks and stuff, and it seems like a high percentage of them want me to speak about some religious impact, and when I don't, they seem frustrated, or they're trying to help me understand that it was. And again, I love this one so much because, again, it's about being, and it's about love and connection and spirituality, and it's about nuance and distinction. So for me, things that I used to understand as intuition, or just like a monkey, like there's intuition, which I felt sort of guided by, and then this monkey mind. Now I'm able to discern, like I have those experiences where there's a moment or a memory, and I'm wanting to include Anthony, and so I'll speak to it, or something will pop up in a synchronistic kind of way, and I'll thank him. And
Yeah.
that feels like the spirituality, that
Yeah.
feels like the heart connection,
It's
where we
organic.
don't have to, yeah, organic, we don't have to do prescribe to in any way. And then another pattern that I found from this is, when we talk about signs, an early loss, even when Anthony was hospitalized in a coma, I felt like I was receiving signs that were sort of directing me to the ultimate decision. Um, and I guess what I'm trying to say it more succinctly here, is it seems that so early on I wanted to understand science, so I read about it, and I was able to connect with Anthony in various ways, whether it be technology, music, some of the simpler things like numbers. But what I've come to find now that I've moved on from needing this sort of proof that we're connected, is the signs come more deeper and more meaningfully and more obviously in moments when I'm placing, or shortly after placing, that love that quote unquote has nowhere else to go. It seems that there's some energetic tie and connection to placing that love, and I'm receiving it back. And that this is truly a conversation, that way of being is quite spiritual. I just, it's really powerful how you've put those two together. And I hope, if what I've said confuses you, rewind it about 4 minutes
No,
and
no, no.
re-listen to what Ken
What I
shared.
love about what you're saying, or as I'm understanding what you're saying, is the humility.
Yeah.
And rather than the pressure that we put on ourselves, it's like, don't you have it figured out? It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
It's been 30 years for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or don't you believe in God? Don't you believe in energy? Don't you follow so and so? It's like, how about a little humility?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, yeah, I find, you know what, that was very helpful. That really resonated with me. But do I have to adopt that with 100% certainty and profess loyalty and certainty? Or can I learn as I go and have days that I feel really connected, and other days that I feel like she's a billion miles away?
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay for it to be the way it is? And for me not to judge myself or pressure myself that it has to be different, that it can't be this way. And so that's one of the way, catching ourselves in that kind of honoring. That's another way to catch ourselves with our foot on our throat and move ourselves down to our hand, is that element of humility that you're adding. So I think that is so important. And I think it also has to do with other people. How do we deal with the world? Most of us, when you lose a child, you feel like you're also lost the world,
Mm-hmm.
because we live in a
Sure.
grief illiterate world.
Yes, we do.
We live in a world that wants to figure everything out and fix it, and wants certainty and closure.
Mm.
And we're messy. Oh, look at us. Look at that guy. He's a mess. He's uncertain, he's searching, he's confused, he's allowing himself to have tears or whatever. We're messy business. So people say stupid things to us. They find cliches, they pull them out of the sky and
Yes.
out of books they read, and want to give us the truth and illuminate us and educate us and liberate
Yeah.
us and elevate us by telling us the truth. I can't tell you how many ministers preachers, rabbis, imams, whatever, I have spoken to after attending the memorial service of a child who died, that I felt compelled to go up and say, you know what? Please, even before they spoke, please don't make this into a commercial for Christ. Please don't make this into a commercial for whoever your spiritual leader is, or whatever guru, or whatever evolved soul you believed had a real strong connection to the truth. Please honor this family and what you've learned about what they believe and what's giving them comfort and what they're discovering they're going to do to go on. Because that's the path forward. It's not something, a cookie cutter that all people have to fit into and follow. So I think one of the honorings is to take the high road in our dealings with other people. It would be very easy, the second week after Jenna died, that I finally got out to go do some shopping, and I went to the supermarket, and this poor little girl checking me out said, "Oh, have a nice day." And I said, "Yeah, I'll have a great day. My daughter was just killed, And I said, "I'm so sorry. I just bit your nose off. I'm so sorry." And there was a part of me, and this, I've seen this replicate everywhere in the rawness of grief after 9/11, after the families I've worked with in every major tragedy, the individuals and the families and the communities. In the rawness of grief, we want to bite people's noses off. But honoring is taking the high road and saying, you know what, probably didn't understand anything about this before my own tragedy. And how could people know or understand? They're just trying to give you something, and you're biting their nose off. They don't know. So don't punish people for not knowing. Help them understand what helps you the most. And on the help understand what helps you the most, I told you a long time ago, and I still do it. When I take my morning walk in nature with my dog, who's laying over there.
Awesome.
I do kind of a meditation walk. It's time that I'm spending with myself. And there's an opportunity in that. Yeah, I'm walking in nature, and I could kind of just associate and be in nature and connect with the natural elements and whatnot. But I use part of that to ask myself some questions. I ask myself, and this is to cultivate my present awareness. I ask myself, what is weighing most heavily on my heart today? Then I ask myself, what's making my heart sing today? Is there anything happening that's making my heart sing, even if it's a little song? Somebody said something nice to me. Somebody was kind. Something good happened. Then I might ask myself, what might today afford me an opportunity to let go of a little bit more? But those are some of the sample questions that I ask myself. And it allows me to really arrive in the reality of my present mind and state of heart. And to know and to really inform decisions. I might think to myself, wow, today's a great, knowing that now, what's weighing most heavily on my heart, I need to make a call to a friend who just had a stroke. It's true, my friend Charlie just had a stroke. was dying. He's pulled out of it, thank God. But I need to call Charlie and tell him I love him, because that would make my heart sing. So it informs our decision making about what's most important and how to use this day that we don't get back in the most relevant, purposeful, and heartful way. And it also keeps us informed about how we are and practicing being aware and awake and allowing ourselves to be human and all the things we do and all the bubbles of emotion that are likely to come up and all the, and I remember a couple of weeks ago I was feeling empty. I said, what's weighing most heavily? I'm kind of feeling empty. And my foot on my throat said, empty? What? And it's like, rather than saying, the hand on my heart saying, please speak to me, emptiness. I'm listening. I have faith that behind your emptiness is a fullness, or is something precious and important that will help me. But I want to listen to you. Speak to me, emptiness. Rather than that harsh judgment and whatnot. And I listened. And it was one of the most fruitful things I could have done. And it was like emptiness. I realized, God, emptiness is part of the existential ride. It's part of what we all go through. Now it's my daughter calling.
Yeah. Would you like to get it?
I'm going to call her back.
Yeah.
You lose a child, you always answer the phone.
Yes, please.
Hi, sweetheart.
And this would be a good time to share if anyone has any questions. I have a couple more questions for Ken too. And what I love about the live show is we could keep going. They tell me as long as there's inherent value to keep going, and there sure is. Is everything okay?
Everything's good, but you know what? It was good news that one of my grandsons, I brought back a whole bunch of goodies, including he's 6 years old, and this was his first day in first grade.
Oh yeah.
And I brought him. He's had a recent love of sushi.
Oh, nice.
So I brought him sushi so that when he got home from school, he'd have sushi. And that was my daughter telling me he ate the whole platter of sushi.
Yes. Happy grandchild and happy daughter too. She's stoked that he ate all that food.
My daughter makes my heart sing. Yeah.
I am so grateful. And, this show is early on, but what I ask of a guest when I have them is there some tools, some rituals, something that you're doing that you could share with the audience that would be really helpful. And you just did that. This was extraordinary and would be a real easy place for me to tie a bow on it. But selfishly, I have a couple more questions. I already know I'd love to have you back, but I think these two questions could really help our audience, and selfishly they'll help me. So I'd like to ask them if you have a couple more minutes. Okay, cool. One is, and we'll just make sure to share. That's the takeaway in those tools, and connecting with nature, whether you're have an animal that you can walk, or a loved one, or by yourself. For me, that walk with the dog is extraordinary, or even just getting my feet in the grass or the dirt or the sand. But I've lost sight of those questions, and they're so powerful. So this is massively helpful for me to be reminded of them, and hopefully for all of you as well. The question that I have, one is tactical and then one is broader. The tactical question is around, like when you shared at the grocery store and you kind of, you know, bit the head off the checker. Like
Just her
I've
nose.
yeah,
Just
or
her
just her
nose.
nose. That's right. That's what you said. You did say just her nose. I'm thinking of if it were me, she probably would have felt like her whole head got taken off. And so just being very vulnerable and sharing, like, you know, anger is something that still pops up for me. I think some of it may be due for the longest time is I really didn't want to allow myself to experience anger for what Anthony had left us with. And it took a really, really long time, over a year, before I was able to do that. When I finally did, just a whole new world of possibilities opened up for me, and a level of forgiveness and connection. But one thing that does stay with me, which is concerning for me, is like the unexpected anger. So someone might say something to me that has nothing to do with the loss, but it's like such poor behavior or something. But my response, the punishment doesn't fit their crime. And I could think of 3, 4, 5 of these examples where I'm so shocked at myself for the behavior. Like I've gone back and apologized, and I haven't been able to figure out some way to preempt it, but it still bothers me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have this experience, you know, like I sit with it. I don't know.
Can I tell you how
Please. Yeah.
frequently so many of us describe exactly what you've described, which is that there's no constructive outlet for my FUs.
Mm-hmm.
It's so human for all of us. I mean, some of us are so silent, you'd never believe that they ever would feel like telling anybody to go F themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Others of us, come from a world or a family or a community or, what we've gone through in our lives, and we've got that trigger. And, we believe people should act a certain way.
Yeah.
And if you act that way with me and you show that insensitivity and arrogance, and we all have a favorite, certain people who trigger us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, God, certain people trigger me. So I
Yeah.
think what's helpful is for all of us who do that and who go through that to say, number one, who triggers me? I'm going to learn about my triggers. Who are the people I just want to smack and throw them to the ground?
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell them to just shut up, or
Yeah. Yeah.
F you.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if I've been building resentment and building the narrative, and I'm loaded, I'm like a gun that's loaded, waiting. One of the things I can do is siphon off some of that anger by giving myself a constructive way to express it through martial arts, through running, through yoga, or through sitting down and with a blank piece of paper and starting 50 sentences with F you for F you blank for what? And just writing it out. Well, who's on the list this week? Well, how about, what's her name? My wife sells real estate. Somebody's been milking her on a property for 2 weeks, who called her, even signed the application, went through the whole thing, wasted 2 weeks of her life to come up with some. First of all, didn't say anything for a couple of days. He said, come on, you applied, you were going to put down a deposit. You used up, 2 weeks of my time. That triggers me. People who are that thoughtless and inconsiderate and disrespectful and abusive with other people, and how hard they work and the time they put in. Now, I know that, there's, you can't expect that everything's going to work out the way you want to. But for people to act that callous and disrespectful and thoughtfully inconsiderate, thoughtlessly inconsiderate. So, who's on my list this week? Well, that person, and let me write it down. F you for abusing and disrespecting, and and get all my FUs out.
Mm.
And if it's somebody close to me, the secondary thing to do is even harder, is to write it, get another blank page, and start 50 sentences with thank you for.
Mm-hmm.
Because there may be so many things that we really want to thank. We want to put it back into balance. This may be a person who did so many things for us, has shown us their love. But all we can think about is what didn't happen. And we need to put it all back into balance. And the last thing is that with people who've done something that we can't forgive, we can have another blank piece of paper and say, here's what I can forgive you for, and here's what I can't forgive you for. And here's what you could say or do to kind of bring things back into the realm of possibility with me. Or it's never going to happen, and I need to let you know that in a respectful way. So I think sometimes that really puts things back in balance, and we don't have as much anger. We don't have as much, we're not triggered as easily. We take a deep breath. We say, oh, that's the part of it. This is the person that triggers me. This is thank you. You just walked it. You're my favorite person, who I get so triggered by. And to know that in advance and to say, do I really need to be triggered? Do I really want to go out to dinner with, my, with Lisette's niece's boyfriend? No, I really don't. Do I want to go to the Padres game with that couple who were just invited? No, I really don't. No, I don't, because they are people who really trigger me. They start talking about their kids in a way that, it's like, no, I don't need to, not as a parent who's lost a child. No, I don't need that.
Mm. I love that permission. I'm so proud of myself for asking, because it's very hard to like be that vulnerable, and I'm so grateful that I asked, because the answer and the guidance that you provided, the wisdom and the specific guidance is extraordinary. And I'll just share with you, I'm reminded. So we met and worked with you so early on, and so much of it was a blur. But now these things are coming back about the FU list and the thank you. And in fact, um, and I think you were encouraging me early on to have the list. I'm angry at Anthony because, and to thank you. And I think I did it half-heartedly. And it was only this last spring when I was just in just, the 2 year thing was really, really hard. And I just did it. But unbeknownst to me, that's kind of what I did. I was in some other thing, and this woman shared with me that I should, but I said, if I'm going to be angry, then I have to also be thankful. And it wasn't part of an exercise that given to me. So it must have been somehow in my physiology from what you shared way back when. But I really appreciate what you shared, because yeah, I'm the second guy, like that the family grew up in this certain way in the Italian. And, it's not like anger wasn't something that I express anger for a lot of things, most often when I'm sad. But like, for example, this other day we were at the beach. It's beautiful. The tide's coming up. I'm seeing this guy run by with his dog, and the dog stops and takes a dump. And I know with every fiber of my being, this guy's not going to clean it up. And he's got the bags to clean it up and everything. And I'm just waiting to let him have it. And sure as shit, excuse my French, but it applies there. he did. And he's like running off. And I'm like, hey, I'm like, what are you doing? You're leaving that right here for us, and you have the bags. And he's like, well, it's the ocean. Like, the tide's coming up. It's gonna wash away. And I'm like, oh, you're gonna swim it. We're gonna swim it. And I'm getting angry. And he's like, it's like, well, fine, I'll do it. I'm like, I don't care that you're doing it now, because I'm telling you, I'm more concerned about the future. Like, you're running. And he's like, shut the fuck up. And I found myself like, and I mentioned this to Samara. I said, I hope he keeps going, because I feel like I'm carrying so much energy. I'm just waiting for someone to confuse me with someone who gives a fuck. And it got almost dangerous, because it might have come to blows. And I found myself like wanting that. So what I liked about what you shared is I can write these things down now, and I could make pretty good guesses about what bothers me, because it's less so people than it is behaviors. I mean, it's that guy, but I don't know him. But luckily, I don't have a lot of people in my life that I would have to do that for, because I don't have a lot of patience for that. Like, if I've got to be writing about them, they're not long for my life. But I think if I can come up with some of these things that really bother me and get it out, I might preempt some of this, or take some of the edge off, because it was scary.
I love that you shared that, because there is, and there comes a time where you've got to represent. You want that beach. You don't want families suffering on that beach.
No, it's not
and
a
in
toilet
that
bowl.
ocean.
Swim in that.
You don't want this to be Ocean Beach, where you have that pouring out into the ocean. But there are things to stand up for. And what I try to do is present it in a way that doesn't escalate. You got to be direct. Yes, I walk on a trail. There are horses on it. There are people who walk on it, but it's very exclusively not for dirt bikes. And it has signs everywhere. And the guy last week, there's a guy on a dirt bike, and I see him coming, and there's a horse over here, and there's somebody walking with a baby over here. And I'm going, get off the trail, because there's a beautiful concrete trail right on the side. And he yells back at me. He says, it's not a problem. And I said, it is a problem for me. You are not to be on this road. Now, what I was thinking was, boy, I wish I had taken my video out and sent a copy of that video to the people who are charged with enforcing those laws, and said, you have people riding on the trail with no consequence who don't think it's a problem. And we've had accidents and near-death situations with people on bikes, and with electric bikes. There have been some horrible accidents. And my friend who's an emergency room surgeon tells me there's a pandemic of electric bike deaths, fatalities, and paralysis and injuries, and hitting innocent people and so on. So there are things happening in the world that we can speak out, but the idea of it, we've got to say, look, I'm not going to sit here and get into a fight with you. I'm trying to appeal. I'm trying to tell you that this is not only dangerous, but this is treacherously unhealthy, what you're allowing to happen. And I'm trying to appeal to your better self, but try it. And so when I give feedback, I try to explain why I'm doing it. I'm not trying to assassinate your character. I'm not trying to do it, but I'm a New Yorker. I'm used to being very direct with people.
Yeah.
It's from our backgrounds. Some of us are very outspoken. Something's happening, we will say something about it, but not to let it escalate into violence is the part that we want to make sure we put in there by announcing, hey, my intentions are good. I'm not here to hurt you or assassinate you or tell you you're a bad person. I'm just telling you this is not right. What you did is not right. And to please give that some consideration.
That's so powerful. I'm glad you shared about that. And then I had this sensation as you were sharing, and I aligned it to the same thing with take your foot from your throat and put your hand on your heart, is because I'm looking for some sort of pattern interrupt, because that New York
Yeah.
guy, Italian, same thing. And all of what you've shared like makes sense. But in the moment, in that heat, and what I remembered feeling when that was happening was like a clench. I don't remember if my fists were clenched, but maybe it's the same kind of thing. If I can remember, and I could be saying and appealing to
You're
the
putting your
person's
hand on
humanness.
somebody's throat. Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm ready, but if I can maybe have that physiology or that pattern interrupt to place my hand here, it might prompt me in some way to have a conversation closer
Yeah.
to what you've
It's
suggested.
more like you're going, stop
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yes.
You're telling him, please stop. What you're doing is not right.
What you're doing is not right.
You leaving, you leaving this on the beach is not right for anybody, for my kids, for anybody's kids. And justifying it is okay because it's going to go into the ocean is not acceptable.
No, it's not. All right. Well, so listen, this last one is really important to me. I'm just looking real quick. I mean, it's so fascinating. I could just drop all these cards because we've covered everything. I think it's fascinating. Your book is How We Go On, and the show is The Way Forward. Same question, 2 rooms. So the piece that I'm curious about myself, and I think could really help people, is we've talked about it. We've in so many ways. There is no there. You mentioned there is no closure. I talk about closure being a myth or a lie. I think it's something that gets people stuck if they're not doing it right. If there's like, oh, I'm going to go through these steps and then I'm going to have closure, I'll be healed, I have peace. So for me, it comes up sometimes, and a family member recently shared with me, like, hey, it's been a couple of years, like, I'm hoping and praying that it gets better for you because it's really hard for me and us. And I remember being like, and I said, I don't know that it's going to get better, but it is getting different. And I said, if how I'm healing or the speed at which I am is not meeting your needs, it's okay for you to protect yourself and your family. But what I'm getting at is, I have 2, you have 30. I'm curious, like, when I start to feel lighter, then I feel like I miss the pain and wanting to feel that close. And then when I feel that pain close, I miss the lightness, but I know I want both. So what's it like after 30 years or even 20 or 10, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, what's your experience like?
We're all very different. How we go through the seasons of grief, the years of grief, the angelversaries. A lot of it depends on what's happening in our own lives. Are we living out our own lives, what we had hoped to live out? Have we truly fought our way back into our own lives? And do we allow ourselves to feel the love and to feel connected through the love, not only the pain, not only the memory, to be triggered by the memory that they have died? And, I often say that what started as the purest form of love, a parent's love for a child, that became an unspeakable sorrow, wishes to become love again, a pure form of love, the love that never dies. So I think, for me, there's no way to describe. I just evolved through all the seasons of my own life as I get older. It's interesting. The last couple of books I wrote were about aging.
Mm.
I wrote I think I sent it to you the other day.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote a piece. I write blogs for Psychology Today. My last post was on what aging parents wish their adult children understood. And that piece was picked up by over a quarter of a million people, 250,000 people. And because it talked about looking at the whole picture of how we evolve through the seasons of life, how all this works, and what we would wish to be understood about what we're going through, and what our kids are going to feel as we get older, what we would wish them to understand about our life evolving, winding down. Eventually, we're going to die. What we would wish for them in the time after we've passed. So, we're also we go through the seasons of our own grief, but the world changes. My God, we're living in a world raging and with wars raging. We're living in a world with revolutionized by things like AI. We're living in a world in which many of us are not proud of our country. Our country is weakened and corrupt, and faltering in terms of what we would wish, the integrity that we would wish, the pride that we've felt, the things we've worked so hard to attain in our country. So I'm not going to get political with you, but I'm just saying that we're not only are we evolving and changing in the seasons of our own lives and how we feel about what we've lost, the kids, how we grieve the loss of our younger selves, all those things. But the world is also changing. So I think just waking up every day and asking ourselves what's weighing most heavily on our hearts, what's making our hearts sing, and finding opportunities to let go of things that we don't really need to carry, and creating opportunities to lighten our hearts and to sync our hearts with the fact that we pass through seasons, and eventually we pass through this life as we know it to be into something else that we don't know it to be. That's just the way it is. As my 6-year-old grandson says, Poppy, it's just the circle of life.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And what a powerful answer, because the question almost seems silly. Like you have there's some formula 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 that we all can look forward or predict. And that's a myth. But what's even more powerful has been the theme that I've chosen to receive through this whole thing is again about presence, present moment, because you're so right. I think it has less to do, even though I have a couple of years, if I think about the experiences that I just shared with you, whether I'm missing, feeling pain or suffering, or grateful that I feel lightness, and it's not 24/7 that I'm thinking about Anthony. That has more to do with what's happening in the moment than how much
Yes.
time I've had since that trauma. And so the what's happening on any given day, what's happening in the seasons of life, what's happening in our community, our state, our country, our world, I don't want to minimize it, but it's almost kind of like, duh, of course that's the answer. And it gives us something that it's not to look forward to or to predict or anticipate, but just a reminder about everything you've shared throughout this last hour or so about that taking your foot off the throat, putting it in your heart, giving yourself permission to be and feel what you're going through, even that you reminded yourself that you're a parent who's lost a child. It's not an excuse or a pass. It's just permission to experience where you really actually are.
Yes. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Thank you. So it
Thank
feels
you.
like a good time to wrap, although I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more, but
we'll talk again.
I know we will. And I look forward to seeing you in person, but more than that, having you back, because I don't want to have just these experiences for myself. I feel like you're in many ways the best kept secret, although you just shared an article that had 250,000. So maybe I'm not finding you, but like, I'm so glad to share you, but where can people find you? What could we do or say so people have more of this? Yeah.
If people go to get on the list to receive, I send a newsletter every month or two. It tells people about all the podcasts, all the programs, the workshops. I have a workshop coming up on my title of my book is Raising an Aging Parent. I have a workshop on raising an aging parent for those of us whose parents are going through difficulties and who want to do the right thing and be able to live with what happened by doing the right thing, and with their parents, with their aging parents, and being more understanding and compassionate and kind, putting our hands on their hearts and taking our foot off of their throats. So anyhow, they can find out at kendruck.com. They can go to howwegoon.com. They can sign up to receive my newsletter and announcements and my database. Got over 25,000 people who I inform about these things on a regular basis. That I'd be honored to have you join that list. To get an announcement occasionally.
I'm not on it. I will absolutely get on it right after this.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say is I just want to honor those people. You have reached out and created a beautiful living room where we can all be together. We can talk about things as important as what we've been talking about. And you honor your son beautifully. And those of you who are watching, you not only honor yourselves, but you honor the people in your life who you go on, or you're going to go on with, by paying attention and just becoming more aware, and your commitment to your own well-being. And I've been honored to be with you today.
It's been an absolute honor, and the pleasure is mine. And we always end with peace within and purpose with what comes next. And you tied that together so eloquently there. So thank you all for joining us. If you're listening to this later, not live on any of the podcast platforms, please do share your questions in there. We'll get them answered. We'll share everything that Dr. Ken Druck shared with us in the show notes below about the honorings, and also where you can find him and how you can get more of him in your life. And this has just been an absolute honor. Thank you so much, Ken. Appreciate you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.